because we can't be with you in Frankfurt this year, we asked each of our authors to film a short elevator pitch talking about their novels. The only catch is they had to film it in an actual elevator.
My name's Jack Heath and I'm the author of Hideout, a crime novel about a rogue FBI consultant who discovers a house full of killers and instead of arresting anybody, he decides to murder them all.
In the thriller Deadman's Track, three very different lives collide through greed, revenge and murder. An impressionable young man makes a terrible choice. A tenacious cop becomes embroiled in a time-sensitive case. And a traumatized guide must protect a group of young hikers from an unknown threat whilst leading them through the stunningly dangerous Tasmanian wilderness. Each must face their greatest fear in order to survive and ultimately stop a ruthless killer.
I'm Kate Mildenhall and this is The Mother Fault. Mim's husband Ben is missing from an Indonesian mine site. When she tries to find out what's happened to him, the department question her and threaten to take away her children. Terrified, she hides out on her family farm, but like everyone else, she and her children are chipped, constantly watched, and she is forced to make desperate decisions. The Mother Fault is a thriller, a road novel, a sailing adventure, a romance. It's the story of one woman who will do anything to keep herself and her children safe.
The Inheritance picks up with Maggie working in a coastal town and trying to put her dark past behind her. But things are upended when she's tracked down by Harrison Cooper, a detective and former family friend hell-bent on finding the person who killed Maggie's father. Cooper believes that the crucial evidence he needs is sealed away with Maggie's father's possessions, and as such, he needs the heir to his estate to come down, access them, and help him close the case. There's only one problem. The killer Cooper is looking for is Maggie herself.
The Survivors is an Australian mystery, this time set along the rugged coastline in Tasmania. It's set in a tiny community, and there's a lot of small town intrigue and secrets to be uncovered in this one. It's a standalone, so it's very similar in tone and feel to my first three books and should appeal to the same readers. But if you haven't read the first three, you can just jump right on in with this one. And yeah, I really enjoyed writing this one. It was a lot of fun to research and write, so I hope readers enjoy it too.
Hi, my name's Anna Downs and I'm here to tell you about my debut novel, The Safe Place, which was published simultaneously in Australia, the US and the UK in July. The story follows Emily Proudman. She's a struggling actress who accepts a much needed job working for and living with a very wealthy family on their beautiful but remote French estate. But what at first appears to be a dream come true slowly unravels into something much more sinister. It's a story about identity, isolation, illusion and insidious family secrets. And it asks the question, not only how well do we know those we love, but how well can we ever know ourselves?
So The Last Guess is about a couple, Lena and Kane. They have a house on a lake that they barely use. It's a few hours from where they live in New Zealand. They decide to try to monetize the house and make a little bit of money out of it because it's not being used, so they set it up and put it on Airbnb. But what they don't realise is some of the guests aren't exactly who they say they are, and they begin to notice something a little bit odd about some of the people that have stayed and realise cameras have been installed in the house.
Hi, my name is Nicola Morani and I would love to tell you a bit about my latest novel, The Accident. The Accident is a dark domestic drama about family secrets, broken relationships and the ultimate betrayal. There's been a major car accident on the freeway on Christmas Eve and the big question is, who caused the accident? Was it the sleep-deprived parents or the reclusive teen? The mother who's turned to alcohol to cope or the grandmother who's in denial about her own family? Because somebody is to blame and they're not all going to make it out alive.
If you never get lost, you can never be found. My name's Meg Bignell, and my novel, Welcome to Nowhere River, is the story of a town that is really lost. The local ladies' club get together with a mad scheme to revitalise the town, and chaos ensues. The town is shaken up and turned upside down until secrets and scandals and hilarious situations come fluttering out. It's a heartfelt and funny story of a town where everyone knows everything, but no one really knows anyone at all.
I'm Anna George, and Tipping is a dark comedy about gender politics set at a local school when one mum reaches tipping point, thanks largely to her husband inadvertently locking her in the family car. Then and there, Liv Winston decides things need to change, from her boys' school to her husband's work to their half-happy, half-crappy marriage. Overwhelmed mother of three, Liv Winston is today's Shirley Valentine without the trip to Greece. And Tipping is a story of domestic activism, mum activism, because things can change. Sometimes all it takes is a tweak and the will and some fun.
Yuridu Marang, Yuandu Yanada Heiss. Hello, I'm Anita Heiss, and my new historical novel, River of Dreams, is set in Wiradjuri country and is told through the voices of Yari. He is a hero of the Great Flood of Gundagai, Wagadine, his daughter, who's in servitude, her lover Yindamara, and Louisa Spencer, who is a Quaker hoping to make change in the new colony. I believe this great Australian novel will speak to your heart and your sense of place, and it is a story of heroism and homecomings.
1944, German-occupied Paris. The French resistance pressure Auguste Dechaine to find a priest who's disappeared with a weapons cache. At the same time, a Wehrmacht major forces Dechaine to search for a missing German soldier, a possible deserter. To fail at either task would have deadly consequences for Dechaine and his daughter Marion, who's in a relationship with the Luftwaffe captain. The Paris Collaborator is the story of a simple man thrust into extraordinary circumstances and forced to determine if the cost of survival is worth betraying all he holds dear.
It's 1940. As war engulfs Europe, young Australian woman Lucy and her French mother find themselves trapped in German-occupied Paris. Using her artistic skills, Lucy engages in small acts of defiance against the occupying forces and collaborationist French authorities. As the situation worsens, Lucy must decide how far she'll go to help her Jewish friend Aline and her family in their fight to survive.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Stafford, the author of The Imitator, which is a novel set at the beginning of World War II in London. And it involves a young woman named Evelyn who's recruited into MI5 and tasked with infiltrating a group of establishment and very wealthy English men and women who are sympathetic to the Nazis and are working towards an uprising in the event of a German invasion. And what seems a fairly straightforward investigation, at least morally for Evelyn, is made really complicated when people she's close to become embroiled in the investigation. And Evelyn has to make some really difficult decisions that have devastating consequences for herself and for those around her.
The Winter Dress is the story of Joe Baker, a Dutch expat living in Sydney who is called back to Holland to investigate the origins of a 17th century silk dress found on the bottom of the Wadden Sea by amateur divers. Joe's investigations lead her to Catharina van Schomen, a glass engraver long suspected of passing secrets to parliamentarian spies during the English Civil War. Joe has to work fast to uncover the truth before the damaged dress disintegrates, taking Catharina's secrets with it and her own.
Hi everyone, I'm Catherine Johns. My novel Maggie is set mainly in the late 1960s and it's based on my own experience. Maggie is 17, she's a boarder in a convent school and she becomes dazzled by the attentions of a Catholic priest. Their secret affair has disastrous consequences for Maggie and she's forced to reshape her life. Maggie's a story of trauma, but it's also a story about survival.
Hi, I'm Rhett Davis, author of Hovering. It's a novel about 39-year-old expatriate Alice Wren, who flees home to southern Australia under mysterious circumstances. She finds her family behaving strangely and her hometown transforming itself. Residents wake up to a new city every day. When Alice is implicated in an international art fraud, the city unravels. Hovering won the 2020 Victorian Premier's Literary Award for an unpublished manuscript. The judges called it a gripping, kaleidoscopic novel that employs a dazzling variety of voices and devices. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Claire Thomas, the author of The Performance. I'm very proud that The Performance is going to be published around the world, and I hope it can still find even more international readers. The Performance is about intimacy, privacy, and privilege. It's about human vulnerabilities on this precarious planet. It's about the many masks we all have to wear to get through each day of our lives. The Performance is a novel for our times.
The Serpent Skin is this brooding literary crime novel about this feisty, whip-smart kid, JJ. When she's 10 years old, one dark night her mother disappears and her father tells a whole stack of lies about it. And she doesn't know whether her loyalty should be to her lying father or her disappeared mother. In the end, she lets it go, but when she's older, she does stumble across the clue that shows that not all was well in the house she grew up in. People say that when they read The Serpent Skin, they do it in a couple of gulps and it really stays with them. So that's got to be good, and I hope you love it too.
Thea has for years been haunted by the abduction of a childhood friend. When a man confesses, Thea senses something is wrong. Someone's following her. She flees across outback South Australia, finally settling on the edges of a dying town. But there's danger here too. And this time, Thea knows she must face down this darkness or flee once more and never stop running. Both thriller and lament, Days of Innocence and Wonder is a rich exploration of home and exile, loss and hope.
Hello, my name is Yumiko and I'm a doctor. My book is called Emotional Female, which is what I was called at work one day. It's a memoir about the highs and lows of training to become a surgeon and what made me eventually walk away. I think a lot of people will relate to being trapped in a toxic workplace and burning out. Leaving my medical career was incredibly difficult because so much of my identity was tied to becoming a surgeon. But after years of putting my patients first, I knew I had to put myself first. Coming to peace with that decision and redesigning my life has been so liberating, and I can't wait to share it with you. By reading my book, I hope that you'll gain courage and optimism for the future, whatever your situation.
The Trump presidency was not a historical accident. It was almost historically inescapable. So many American trend lines converged and culminated in his successful campaign in 2016. Political, economic, cultural, technological, racial. When America stopped being great tells the history of the present, a 50-year story of how we got here. And it argues that we're not just looking at a post-American world, we're looking at a post-America America.
Hi there, I'm Taria, I'm an author, and I set out on a quest to discover whether or not happiness was a ridiculous aspiration. I discovered that happiness entails practicing gratitude, working on your kindness, strengthening your relationships, and accepting that bad days and bad times are part of the happiness package. Is it possible to become happier? You'll have to read the book to find that out.
Healing Lives is a book about two extraordinary women. One Australian surgeon, Catherine Hamlin, who went over to Ethiopia to set up a hospital to treat childbirth injuries of women or fistula. The other is Mamitu, a poor peasant girl from the highlands of the country whose life Catherine saved. The two women formed a strong friendship, and Mamitu started working at the hospital to show her gratitude. Eventually, under Catherine's tutelage, she became one of the world's greatest fistula surgeons, despite never having been to school for a single day or knowing how to read or write. This is their remarkable story.
Hi, my name's Hayley Lawrence. I'm the author of Ruby Tuesday. Ruby was named after a song about freedom, but she's far from free. Trapped in a small town with her mother, Ruby has an incredible voice and longs to be heard. Ruby Tuesday is a story about broken dreams, the joy of creativity, and how healing can be found in the wildest of places.
Hello, my name is Joel Temple.
And I'm Kate Temple.
And we are the authors of this book, The Battle of Book Week.
And this Battle of Book Week, and this Battle of Book Week, and all the Battle of Book Week books.
All of them. So what is Book Week?
Book Week's only the very best week in the whole school calendar. It's the week where kids get to dress up as their favourite book character.
Yes.
What else happens? Book parades.
Book parades, author visits.
And library fines are forgiven. And this book has all of that. but it's a bit of a disaster. Battle of Book Week.
Bit funny too.
It's very funny.
We hope you like it.
Bye!
Happy reading. Bye.
Hi everyone, my name is Alice Pung and I'm the author of 100 Days, which is a book about the relationship between a Chinese Filipino-Australian girl and her mother who is overworked and fed up and yet loves her more than anything in the world, and who locks her daughter up in the 14th floor of a housing commission estate flat during her pregnancy for 100 days. This book develops their ongoing relationship and the transformations that happen within this time. Thank you.
Exit Through the Gift Shop. That's the title of my new book. Hi, I'm Mariam and I've written a story about Anna, a 12-year-old girl who's dying of cancer. But that's the least of her problems. Her biggest problem at the moment? Melissa Anderson, vile, mean bully who needs to be taken down. How will Anna navigate these last few months of her life? Between the chemo, hair loss and grief, there's also love, laughter and most importantly, hope. Think Fault in Our Stars meets Mean Girls, but for middle graders. Just read the first page. I think you'll be hooked.